Okay, guys, Sam here, back with you. It's the Friday, the 5th of April, and next up, we're gonna finish up here with OmiseGo. I think I'm saying that's the right way. OMG to the dollar. Now we've looked at this a couple of times. Some really interesting things here, so I'm glad you guys chose this. In fact, there's a very difficult count that's here, and in fact, it's so challenging. We included it in our weekly chart challenge, and I'll show you what we came up with here. Now, before I get into that, because there is a count here, we can get a count on here. It's an extremely bullish count. So I wanted to start here with just a blank chart on the daily to give you some perspective, so you get a sense of, well, of course, where we've been, where we are, and if we're going to put together something that's going to stretch the credibility of how bullish it could be if you're down on a 1 hour chart. I need you to have some context in terms of where we are and where we could be going, right? So now, but I've shown this before, so you can see this. You know, clearly we get a nice little ridge of resistance up here that was tested multiple times. Anybody want to guess what's there? All right, so from the high to the low. All right, what do? 2 trips into the golden zone, and of course they get their target right here. It's got a little extra juice on it here, and now we've just broken up through, well, we're through the Vegas wave. We're not to the 233 yet. So interesting, right? Incredibly technical, right? So don't get target here, back for a visit. They get it. So with that said, okay, so we've got, you know, potential here. So look, I wicked off 0 here, so you see how far we've fallen. What was our high up here? $30, 28.53, and you know, where are we now? $2. Long fall, like most of crypto. All right, so but little kick here, a little green sprout. Maybe we got something. Okay, so let's go down. Let me try a 2 hour here. Give this some perspective. Okay, so yes, now I do have a count here, but I want to show you a few things here because there's a couple of things. So if you're trying to learn Elliott Wave here and you're going through just the typical process here, this is a very challenging count, and you're going to have to. This is where you decide what kind of Elliott Wave trader you are, right? So either you're going to be kind of loosely aligned with the broader concepts, right? And there's something to be said for that. Or you're going to be strict about it, and you're going to force yourself to work within the rules and the guidelines of Elliott Wave. That's kind of a decision you have to make, because you could come up with a sloppy count here that's going to be much easier, much easier. So, you know, well, as I take you through this, these are forks in the road where you say, all right, okay, how do I want to apply this, right? And do I really care about all the rules here? Because if you do care, well, it takes a little work to get fluid with them and comfortable with them, so you're not constantly, flipping a book or checking something. Let me just walk you through this here, because there's a couple of things that I think are worth noting. So first, just looking at that, right? You can see I posted this, I don't know, 2 days ago for the chart challenge. Right, where I'll just post something up that I struggled with to get a count that actually works here, and I know if I struggle, it's going to be a good one for students to work on. So just looking at this, right? Well, so obviously we get kind of the basic swing structure here. This sure looks like, it looks like a 1, 2, 3. So what's the problem? Well, the subdivision here is absolutely brutal, right? If you're going to follow Elliott rule set, right? Very, very tough to get a count that works here. But we can't get one, but it's ultra bullish. So when you're in this context and you look here, like, oh shit, man, we're taking off here. But you go back to the daily, like this is not much, right? So, so you got to have that context, all right? It's because you can get lost down here. You're staring at a 1 hour. It looks like, holy shit, we are really zooming here. Well, we've gone from $1 to 250, right? Percentage gain, I know. Right, I understand, but so here's what I wanted to show you. So just your eye thinking, oh, 1, 2, 3. What's so hard? Well, let's just do a couple of things here. So just the way we would use some fib extension, and probability zones here to our benefit. So if I brought this chart up, just blank chart, and someone said, hey, would you take a look at OmiseGo? And this is the first thing I would do. So I'd say, well, that looks like a one, this looks like maybe a 1, 2, 3. So I'd start to mark it off this. Well, let me do it this way. So I'd mark this off here and say, okay, well, that's the highest probability zone for my third, because the 1 here, that's no problem in the 1. We got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're good with the 1. So you might look here and think, okay, there's the length of the 1. Well, you know, decent, right? I've got a little ABC into my 2. Well, there's the high probability zone for my third, 4, 5. What's the problem? Okay, well, let's just draw that up. So if this is 1, 2, and this is going to be 3, 4, 5, do you have a completed motive wave? Well, maybe. Right? So this is where you look at that and go, oh, okay, well, so what's the problem? There's the high probability zone for the 3. There's the 4. Well, how do we look here from the 2 to the 3? Let me get right on that. Oh, well, we're right between the 23 and the 38. Vegas wave is right there. Well, we don't overlap the 1. There's the little ABC in the 4. Look, I didn't even notice that. So right to algo target reaction now looks like we're kicking up for more. So maybe that's the shit, would that be it? Maybe that's 1, 2, and this we're in the third. Maybe the fifth has got more legs to go. What's the problem? Well, if this is your third, you got to get an impulse out of this, right? So if this is the 4, you'd be looking at this saying, okay, I've got a completed impulse wave. What's the problem? Well, in this section, oh, well, shit, you get the idea. From the 2 to the 3, you got to get an impulse. Okay, so same process. You're trying to get an impulse. Oh, okay, well, looks like there's a pretty solid 1, 2 here. So I'm going to grab the low here. Does that look like that's my 1? Well, that looks like a candidate, so put that here. Okay, where's the highest probability zone for the third? Right here. Oh, well, how convenient. Look what we do. Perfect. Okay, so I've got the perfect zone for my third here, perfect zone for the 3 here. So what's the big deal? 1, 2, oh, how convenient. 3, oh, look at my 4, up for my 5, all good there. Now let me get that degree down. So it makes sense. We'll go sub, we'll go into why my machine's running slow today. I probably need to reboot it. Okay, so there we go. All right, so what's the problem? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't overlap the 1. Now let's wick these off. Okay, so I'm going to grab this. Okay, so here's the dominant 1 of the larger degree. Okay, all right, so you look and you go, oh, that looks good. Okay, well, here's the 1 of this degree. Ah, shit. Right here is that 1. Okay, well, right, all good. What's the problem? Well, this is right to where I started. What kind of Elliott trader are you? Right, if this is 1, 2, 3, then I've got to get an impulse here. Okay, well, so you look now and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 doesn't overlap the 1. What's the problem? Well, if this is my third, I got to get an impulse here. Right, I can get one here. I can probably dig one out here, but I cannot get an impulse here. It is not there. So here's, you can look at it this way. If this is 1, 2, and I've got to get a 3 here. All right, pardon me, I've got to get an impulse in this. What do I want here? I want this. All right, so if this is my 2 and this is my 3, I got to get an impulse right there. Okay. All right, so you want to stop the video, see if you can get one. You can't, right? So I've already tried. It's not there. There is no impulse there. It's not there. Can't be done. 1, 2, 3 doesn't work. 4, we overlap the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that works, except I don't have an impulse. If this is the 3, 4, 5 of the 3, that doesn't work because I can't get the 1, 2. Where's the 3? That's too short. So I can't go 1, 2, 3. That's too short. I can't go 1, 2, 3. First problem here is I've got an ABC. Then it looks like really I've got just another ABC here. So I definitely can get an A, a B, and a C. So what's the problem, right? Well, that just, you can't, right? See, this is back where I started, right? So what kind of Elliott Wave trader are you? Right? If you go, fuck it, who cares, right? So the basic structure is there. Yeah, I get you, right? It all comes together really nicely, and you can say, oh, look at this nice channel I've got going here. Well, we're going to go up here. We're going to use this. Well, we could probably double that and then add. You know, we've got lots of good things happening here. Why is this a big deal? Why do I care? Oh, fuck it. It's fine. You know, that's fine. That was the high probability zone for the third. That was good for the third, 3, 4, 5. We don't overlap. What's the problem? Well, again, right, it's just a question of, I'm not saying you have to be a purist. But you got to pick a side, right? So either you're going to say, okay, I'm going to be disciplined about wave subdivision, or I'm just going to be kind of loosely, you know, it's impulse-ish. I'm not saying that one's right, one's wrong, but it's certainly going to affect how you're going to approach where the next opportunity is. So you could certainly draw this up and say, oh, I've got a completed impulse-ish kind of a thing happening here. Okay, well, I've got a completed motive wave. In this case, well, okay, because I don't care about this, I'm going to go one wave. So what's the problem? Here's the 2. Here's the 1. So I've got a completed motive wave, right? So I'm just going to sit and wait patiently here if I'm not already in it, and if that's the high, which we don't know that it is, right? We don't know that this is stopped. Look, it's getting more legs as I'm recording this. Here's my 2, right? So what's the big fucking deal? Well, again, you know, it's just a question of whether you care about the fact that there's not an impulse there. You cannot make it work. I've tried 15 times. It does not play. So, you know, that's the fork in the road for a trader, right? So, well, let me put it this way. If you're going to trade OMG to the dollar and you're going to apply Elliott Wave analysis, this is not a completed impulse. It's something else, right? So, so here, this is whether you're a member, and I don't know if you saw this in the chart challenge. If you didn't, this would be a good time to stop and go, all right, well, you know, I've invested into Trade Devils University, and I want to learn some Elliott Wave here. So I want to learn. I want to be disciplined about it. Okay, stop right now. See if you can get a count on it. Pause the video. I'm going to give you the answer, but pause the video and see what you come up with. Right? Don't wait and let me give it to you. Pause it right now. Go bring up a blank chart. See what you come up with here. Right? It's not going to be easy. I promise you. Right? It took me a while to get it. Very difficult chart. And we had a bunch of people give us contenders here. Almost all had 1 or 2 slight errors in it. But Pizza Man, that's 2 N's in the man. Pizza Man, he nailed it, right? He got the, well, let me put it this way. He has a technically valid count. It was very close to what I came up with. Same thing. So nicely done, Pizza Man. The others, slight little overlaps, disqualifiers, good efforts, but they were DQ'd because of, so if you were, this would be the kind of thing we might give you in a belt test and say, give me a count here that works, right? So this would be someone new to Elliott Wave could easily make the mistake here, easily, right? You can't get the subdivision to play here. It's not there. So what does that leave you? Well, you got to make some decisions here. Well, so this is the either or. Well, if it can't be this, then what are the alternates? What could it be if I'm going to stay disciplined with my wave application? Well, here, you know, ultimately this is a process of elimination. Well, if it can't be that, what does that leave? All right, so that would be, it's going to be kind of funny to see, right? If I check back on this and we end up just doing that, right? So this will be a lot of wasted breath here in trying to get you guys to be disciplined if we just ABC it down and then take off for the rip, which it certainly could happen. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm saying if you want to be a disciplined Elliott Wave trader here, you cannot call this a completed impulse. It's not. You can call it, you know, at the start of a trend. You can say, well, I've got a series of higher highs and higher lows, so I've got the start of a trend. That's absolutely right, but you do not have a completed impulse. All right, let's go look at what I came up with here, which is also very close. Pizza Man got it as well. All right, so coming off of the low. Okay, well, so we'll start here. So the 1 is the easy part. Okay, so let me open it up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pretty solid. We're good here. We've got a nice clean impulse into our 1 wave. This can be interpreted a couple of different ways. You could have the B over here, but it's also technical. So note here, from the reason I put the B here, I'll show you exactly why. Right, so that's the A. What do? Here's the 50. Do you see it? Remember, guys, there's always an algo on the other side. So there's a perfect 50 right to target. Boom, reaction. Okay, so I think that's why we get the ABC. Yeah, we've got a little pump wick that gets through it, but that's damn near tick to tick, right? So little juice to make sure they got to fill, right? So they're done. So I can get a nice 1, 2 here, and I understand why it goes there. There's my 2. A, B, C. I can't, it's just, you can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because we overlap, right? So I can't have that. Right, it's the overlaps that kill you all the way up. Right, so let me pull this off since we've established that. Okay, so what I can get here, since I can't get an impulse into that, I can get a diagonal. So in fact, I'm just noticing I didn't label this bit here. Right? A, B, C. Okay, so if it's not an impulse, well, first thought is, oh, well, look at all these overlaps. Must be a diagonal. Well, there is definitely a diagonal here. So from this 2. A, B, C into the 1, A, B, C into the 2, A, B, C into the 3. Yes, it's long enough. I checked it. A, B, C into the 4. 4 overlaps the 1. Now I know I'm in a diagonal, A, B, C into the 5th of a leading diagonal. What does that mean? That means that this is a 1, this is a completed 1. So I've gone 1, 2, 1. All right, where am I looking for the 2? If this is, pardon me, from this 2, here's the low. Lost my place for a second. From this 2 to this, let's get it right on there. Okay, where do I go? Right to the 38. It goes in between the lips of the Vegas wave. So we get the 38 here. So it's shallow. Granted, it's shallow for a 2. Typically, you'd be, if you were looking for it, you'd be down here waiting at the 50. You don't get it. That's where you're looking for it, at the 2. We see them, right? Strong market. You see it. So the ABC only makes the 38. So now this one is not relative here. It's only, this is a completed. A completed leading diagonal into a 1, 2, shallow 2, right? No other way to well, oh shit, I suppose there's another way to count this, but as it sits right now, I have a valid diagonal into a shallow wave 2. Okay, well, okay, fine. All right, maybe I've got such a strong market here that I'm going to go 1, 2, and then I'm going to get my impulse. Well, you can let me go down to an hourly here. This is a little bit of a push here. Do I have an impulse here? Can I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, yeah, it's possible, right? So you might be able to dig that 1, 2, but it looks much more, if you look at the larger structure of it, it looks much more like an A, B, C, all right? Which implies more diagonal. Now, it's going to be a bit of a judgment call when we get up here to see where we go. But I think we are more likely to be staying in with an ABC here. So the broader structure of it looks more like a 3 than a 5, even though there is a little 1, 2 here. So if you were back here, kind of backfill this based on what's still to come, that's a place where you could go to get an impulse. But it doesn't matter to this count because we've gone 1, 2. So even if I call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter because this is not long enough to be the 3. So whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or A, B, C, it's a 1 wave because this cannot be the 3. All right, so if this is not the 3 and we've gone 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, if that's my 1, where am I looking for the 2? Right between, come back here, right between the 50 and the 618, right where we go. So I get a little A, B, C, and I get right in my sweet spot. Okay, so what have I got here? Leading diagonal, 1, 2. Right, remains to be seen, right? So I could call it an impulse. I could call it an ABC. It's a function of whether this gets overlapped in the 4. If I go 1, 2, well, what have I got here? Well, again, it's not long enough to be the 3. So what's left? Right, another 1, 2. So I can go. So it's kind of the same thing here. So note here we get from this the algo here, this dominant pivot. Right here, they get first target, second target. You can see the reaction here. That's likely the front run on the first target. Push back down, and that's technical as well, which I'll show you in a sec. So from here, they get target. Okay, so 1, 2. Right, is it an impulse or not? We don't know yet. 1, 2, 1, 2, this gets a little squirrely in here. You can get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, all right, so 3, 4, 5 is essentially a double top. Not long enough to be 3. And that sure doesn't look like a 4. So what does that leave? Yet another 1, 2. So where are we looking for the 2? If this is the start of it, and this is the pivot of it. Ooh, that one's just a slight break here. So we lose the, interesting. So we lose the buy side algo on that swing, right? Then we lose the sell side on this swing, right? So don't feel bad for them. They just keep staying with it until they get on the right side here. So eventually, it looks like they get it. Sooner or later, they get it, right? That's why they can do it, because they can just keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? So here's the 50. Did you see it? Right. So they get this one right here. Second target. Looks like they're getting third target there. All right, so let me pull that off. So if we've gone 1 deep, now we've gone through the golden zone. So low probability that I've got anything other than a 2. Higher probability that I've yet gone again 1, 2. Well, where am I now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Maybe. So you start putting all of that together. Now let me zoom back out on this. And you go, holy shit, man, that's a whole lot of 1, 2s. What is that implying? That's ultra bearish. Pardon me. Ultra bullish. Ultra bullish. Now here's the one that we're some question mark, because we could get an impulse in there if this is how it plays. But if it's going to be an ABC, well, that's implying that I'm likely to come down here and eventually overlap that 1, and this is going to stay as an ABC. But I can go back to that impulse if I need to. So all of this, now look where we are. So I've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm just now at $2. And the all-time high was what, $28? So there's lots of room for all of that to be realized. Now, is that how it's going to play out? Well, fuck, nobody knows. But I can tell you right now, if you're a disciplined Elliott trader, you're looking for 50s and 618. So in a way, this is very friendly to an algo trader, because you're just looking for 50s and 618s, because it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And they're all with the exception of pardon me, this one that was the 38. They've all been deep. This is the one that was a little bit uncharacteristic, because we only made the 38. But coming out of that, it can't be the 3. This can't be the 3, because you can't get the impulse there. So it's got to be 1, 2, 1, 2. Can't be the 3. Deep retracement. Got to be 1, 2. I get an impulse here, but look how deep I go. Probable to be the 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what I think we have there. Right? Well, all implying much higher prices. So the very big, right, the largest degree would have us here. So if this is the big 1 and this is the big 2, right? Well, an extreme here is the 2, 6, 1, 8 relative to the length of the 1 projected from the 2. Right, and here's there's the part where we were saying, oh, wouldn't that be convenient if we could get an impulse here, because that would be our 3, 4 going up for the 5, right? But again, it does not play, so it's not there. So this implies that the third is going to be extended, because there's no way to resolve all of this without going well beyond the 2, 6, 1, 8. So maybe we're going 4, 2, 3, 6, right? There's no way to know. But if this is going to resolve without breaking down, if this is going to stay in this series of 1, 2, 1, 2, eventually we're going to need a 3. Because right now, I don't have a 3. I'm still just putting in. So here I've got the 1, 2 of the 3, but then the 1, 2 of the 1 of the 3, but then the 1, 2 of the 1 of the 1 of the 3 of the 3. I know it's hard to stay with that, but that's why you got to get a chart like this and change the colors, change the degrees, or you'll lose your place. You won't know where the hell you are. Right? It's very easy to do. As someone who does this every day, you got to change the color, change the degree, so you can work backwards and go, oh, okay, well that invalidated, so it can't be. And what is that 3 tied? Is that 4? Right? It's worth doing it. Very bullish, very bullish. So now what will help here is at some point, if we get something to complete, and we can't complete until we get a third. So all of this is implying much higher prices. So with that said, right? And now listen, I'm not saying this is the only count. This is the right count. There's often no right count until we get more data so that we can qualify and quantify the whole thing and work backwards and say, yep, that fits, that works. I know where I am. Right now, no, that's where I think we are, right? In a very bullish scenario here for OmiseGo relative to the dollar. Now, the only other thing that I would show you here, just because I can't resist these here. I just try and share these with you guys whenever I see them just to re-emphasize their significance, right? And I always use it as kind of a nice way to remind people what the deal is with the devil thing. What's the deal with the trade devil, right? It's nothing more than my recognition of, one, how significant pitchforks or median lines are in trading. And as I tell most people, there's virtually no technical analysis package that does not have median lines in it, or pitchforks as they're more commonly called. Probably the most underutilized technical tool, probably the single most important. Let me just give you one example. All right, so you're looking here, and the first question always is, why does it stop there? Why does it stop there? Well, I've got a modifier on this. Hang on a second, guys. I'm getting a call here. I can't take. Okay, so there's the I've got some sort of modifier on that. I've got a shift on that. Let's go to original. All right, now let me dial these in so they're just perfect. Right? As long as this pivot holds, and I know when it's down here, like, oh, come on, no way, no way, no way, no way. 80% probability. Right? That's why there's a pitchfork in the middle of my logo. That's where the whole trade devil thing came from. Right? Not any kind of voodoo or black magic, anything other than that, right? I tell you, it's, as I've said many, many times, if I could only have one technical tool, right, I'd be just fine with median lines. Right? You think that's coincidence? I promise you it's not. All right, guys, that's pretty good rip there. I challenge you, right? See what you come up with there. You got a different count? Yeah, show me. I'd love to see it. Members, post it up, right? It's in the chart challenge, so you can find it there. See if you come up with something different. Like, I know it's very tough in there. All right, with that, we'll call it a day, and we'll call it a week here. I'll still be around for members, but that'll do it for vids going up today. All right, guys, talk to you.